country of New Zealand is a very international country indeed. That's why we wind up sending our troops overseas to help our allies. Unfortunately, many people are unaware of what New Zealand is actually helping its allies with. I'm Vinny Eastwood from the Vinny Eastwood Show, and I broadcast in America. And what one of my listeners, who is a veteran of Afghanistan, told me is while he was in the New Zealand forces over there as part of the SAS, he and a couple of Australian fellows were told by his American counterparts not to look into a couple of different containers that they were meant to be guarding. And of course, being New Zealanders and Australians, their curiosity got the better of them, so they looked inside these containers that the Americans had told them to guard. And they were stacked 8 feet high with pallets of opium poppies ready for shipping. When the United States first invaded Afghanistan, Afghanistan accounted for 1% of the world's global heroin production. Within 1 year of United States forces being in Afghanistan, Afghanistan went from 1% of the world's heroin supply to 90%. It was a 4,000% increase in the first month alone. The BBC and CNN and other mainstream media apparatus have photographed British and US forces literally guarding the poppy fields so that heroin can be usurped from the country. They have told us that the reason why they are protecting all this heroin production is because if we don't farm the heroin, the Taliban might. Well, excuse me, before the Taliban got kicked out, arbitrarily mind you, there was only, again, 1% of heroin production. Now, the only reason that a drug war is starting up there is the same as the opium trails in China and many other times before. Drugs are the way that you fund black ops, black operations, things that are strictly off the books. You need funding that is off the books in order to get them done. For instance, in order to process millions and millions and millions of dollars of heroin, you need one thing and one thing only: a company that is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Because if your company is listed there, you do not have to file return receipts for when you give $10,000 or more. Thank you. So let me get this straight. If you're Coca-Cola or Pepsi, you don't have to explain where your money comes from. So that means you can buy 100 Chevy Suburbans for a Colombian drug dealer in exchange for $500 million hard cash, and then you can take it into your bank, deposit it without anybody asking a single fracking question. Somebody who has worked on Wall Street would know this. And guess who our Prime Minister is? John Key, a Wall Street insider of the highest level. 2 years he worked at the financial hub of New York at the Federal Reserve Bank as the head of the European bond and derivatives trade. This is a man who understands what it is like to have an enormous amount of money and try to find out what to do with it. Our people in Afghanistan, those soldiers of ours who died, are almost spit upon by John Key and these bleeding heart, what I would call condolence bludgers, who have nothing better to do. They don't care about the troops per se, they don't care about their families per se, but they do know that the country wants to see them as if they do care. I am sick and tired of these people using the blood of our warriors, of our people, as a grandstand for a reason to send even more over there to die. They died because you sent them there, John. They died because you kept them there, John. And they will continue to die as long as you are the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And even if John Key is kicked out of Parliament in the next election, it is 100% certain that whomever replaces him will simply have a similar, if not the precise same agenda: to undermine New Zealand's sovereignty, to undermine our military, and undermine the country as a whole, as they are not elected fairly. It is he who has the backing of big business that will rule the country in the future. And as far as I know, big business has not an overwhelming amount of concern for the people of our armed forces or the people of our country. This is Vincent Eastwood, Mr. News.